All right. Well, good morning. Welcome to yoga, everyone. We're actually going to start, like I said, lying on our back today. So go ahead and find your way onto your back. And then when you get there, just taking a moment to find any additional movement you might need. Or maybe just taking a long, full body stretch. And then beginning to settle into stillness. If you're having any issues with the low back today, maybe keep your knees bent here. We're kind of starting in Shavasana. So maybe having the feet as wide as your yoga mat and taking the knees so that they rest together might be a little bit gentler on your back to start with today. You can also always take a bolster or a pillow, some blocks under the knees. And then allow the eyes to soften or close. And beginning to set aside anything that was on your mind so far today. And anything that is on your plate later. Just beginning to draw your attention to your breath in this moment, to your body in this moment. Noticing how the breath and the body feel. Maybe you're feeling pretty peaceful here, pretty relaxed. Maybe your breath is feeling a little stuck. Maybe the body's feeling a little achy, a little stiff. Just noticing what's there. Doing your best not to pass judgment. Just playing the role of a passive observer. Beginning now to deepen the breath. Maybe taking the hands to the lower belly or to the sides of the ribs. Feeling the breath moving, feeling the belly moving up and down. So the breath in yoga always comes first. It should never feel forced. But if you ever lose your connection to the breath, just making sure that you pause what you're doing and finding it again. So continuing to deepen the breath, feeling the rise and fall of the belly, almost like the rise and fall of ocean waves. So yoga is all about finding the balance between effort and ease in every pose, but also in the breath. So you want to expand the belly on each inhale and gently contract on each exhale, but you don't want it to be forced. Seeing if you can find the balance. And seeing if you can begin to move the breath through the body. Really feeling this sense of expansion, of opening with each inhale and relaxing, releasing with each exhale. And today's class is all about balance. And often when we think of balance, we think about trying to come into a balancing pose and just finding your balance and holding it, just maintaining it. But that's not really what balance is all about. That's a part of balance, but it's really more a practice, meeting yourself where you are each day, in your body, in your breath, on your mat, And just seeing if you can balance whatever seems to be a little bit out of sorts. So some days the breath comes easier. Some days certain poses come easier. And some days the breath, the body, mental and physical challenges are just really hard. So acknowledging whatever shows up for you today. And remembering that we're not balancing the same thing every time. The body is always different, our mood is different, whatever we're thinking is different. So just working to restore balance wherever you are. And take a couple more deep, full belly breaths here, and maybe think about an area of your life where you would like to have more balance. Maybe it's balance between work and play, or work and rest. Maybe it's finding a balance emotionally. We're in a very high anxiety time and have been for a while. So maybe you'd like to find more balance there. Maybe more balance in your self-care routine with your friends or family. And just considering all of the areas in your life that could use a little balancing. And give yourself one more deep, deep, full belly breath. And then starting to find a little movement in the fingers and the toes. Soft, easy movements in the wrist or in the ankles. Maybe turning the head gently from side to side. And then when you're ready, bending the knees if they're not already. We're going to hug the knees into the chest. So take your time getting there. And then once you've hugged the knees in, maybe rocking a little side to side. Maybe taking a nice circle with the knees. Kind of massaging the low back, the sacrum. And if you're circling, reverse the direction. And then bringing the knees back to center, release the left foot to the mat. Keep that left knee bent. And then go ahead and extend the right leg long. If you'd like to use a strap here, you always can. Maybe pointing and flexing that right foot. You can keep as much of a bend in the right knee as you'd like. You're just gently encouraging the right leg towards the body, but you're really not pulling. You're just feeling that opening in the back of the leg. Maybe taking some ankle circles. Make sure you go in both directions. Really breathing space and length into that leg. And then if you'd like, draw the belly button to the spine. On your next exhale, draw the nose up towards the knee. And then slowly release, getting some gentle core activation. Always an inevitable part of balance. Your core will help you with that a lot. Rebend that right knee. Keep it hugged into the chest as you extend the left leg long. And then flex that left foot, press the left thigh down towards your mat, and then just open that right knee out to the right just a little bit. So the knee is kind of aimed at your shoulder. Take one more breath here. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and start to cross that right knee through center over to the left, coming into our supine twist. Nice and gentle here to start. So trying to keep both shoulders on the mat. The right arm can extend out to the side. And you're really not trying to pull that right knee down. You're just trying to open through the right side body. Give it one more deep breath. And then slowly start to come back to center. And go ahead and release that right foot to the mat. Rebend the left knee. Take your feet wide and take some windshield wipers. Maybe even rocking your head a little side to side as you do that. And then draw your feet back to hip distance apart. Go ahead and hug the left knee in. And when you're ready, extend a foot long towards the ceiling. And remember, you can always use a strap around the foot here as a little arm extender, or you can just hold on to the leg. Maybe pointing and flexing the toes here, feeling that stretch on both sides of the leg. Maybe taking a couple of ankle circles in both directions. You may notice that one side is tighter than the other. So maybe this is the side that you can draw that knee in a little closer to the chest, or maybe it's the side that's feeling a little tighter today. Really noticing these things about the body, especially when we're talking about balance, because we really want to try and get both sides of the body as close as possible. Take one more breath. And if you'd like, on your next exhale, draw that belly button down, really hug it towards the mat. Draw the nose up towards your knee. And then slowly release. Rebend that left knee. Let's extend the right leg long down the mat and flex that right foot. Really press that right thigh down so that right leg is really active. And then go ahead and open the left knee out to the left just a little bit. Opening the hip, preparing for our twist. Thinking about balancing out both sides of the body. And then when you're ready, on your exhale, start to cross that left knee over to the right. Left shoulder stays down on the mat. Left arm can reach out to the left if you'd like. And think more about opening the left side body rather than trying to get that left knee down. Deep, deep, full breaths. And give it one more breath here. And then draw the belly button towards the spine to help you bring that knee back to center. Go ahead and release that foot to the mat. Rebend your right knee and take your feet wide. Take those windshield wipers one more time. Now we're going to work on a little bit of core activation to help us in our balance. So draw both knees in. So both knees come into the chest, and then reach both feet up towards the ceiling and reach both hands up towards the ceiling. And maybe take some ankle and wrist circles if that feels good. And then hug the belly button down towards the mat. And you can just stay here if you'd like. This might be enough for you. Still activating the core, hugging the belly button in. If you'd like to work on activating the core a little bit more, go ahead and reach that right foot all the way down towards the mat and let it hover about an inch off the mat. And then reach the left hand up overhead and let it hover. If hovering is too much in either the arm or the leg, you can release them. And then energetically reach that right thumb towards that left big toe, even if they come nowhere near each other. Breathing here. Give it one more breath. And then slowly, with control, bring the right leg and left arm back. We'll switch to the other side. Hug the belly button in first. And if you'd like, start to lower that left leg towards the mat. Let it hover. Right arm up overhead. Let it hover. Reaching the left thumb towards that right big toe. Give it one more breath. And then nice and slow with control, bring the arm and leg back. Bend the knees, hug them into the chest. And if you'd like, on an exhale, peel the nose up towards the knees one more time. And slowly release. Go ahead and make your way onto one side. And gently pressing up, we're going to come into table. So take your time getting there. Moving aside any props or grabbing any props that you might need. If you need to pad the knees with a towel or with yoga pads, go ahead. All right, so coming into our table. And let's sink the hips back, almost like child's pose. We're not going to sink all the way back. And then drop the elbows, rolling forward and up into our cow. And exhale, chin to chest, push the back up first, and then sit back, almost like child's pose again. So we're moving through this rolling cat-cow, following the rhythm of your breath. And if this is not a comfortable cat-cow for you today, you can take any other version that feels better. Remembering that even finding the balance between my cues and what your body feels like it wants today can be challenging. So just listening to your body always first. Taking one more round of cat-cow. And then coming back to table. And we're going to thread the needle. So keeping the left hand planted where it is, take a moment to really spread the fingers, press the tops of the feet, the toes, and all 10 knuckles into the mat. And then notice if you're kind of dropping into that cow belly here. See if you can hug the belly button towards the spine and really press away with the hands. So you're almost rounding the upper back. Shoulder blades are drawing away from each other. And then keeping this foundation, if you can, we're going to inhale, reach the right fingertips up. And exhale, thread the needle, right arm under the left. If you'd like to use a block under the head to lift the floor up to you, please do. Maybe just staying exactly where you land in this thread the needle today. Maybe you walk that left hand towards the top of the mat. Or maybe you extend the left leg back with the toes curled under. This is a balance challenge as well. And you can even lift the left hand up. And just noticing if that left leg is extended, really spiking the heel back. The core needs to be engaged. This is hard. If you fall out of it, just take a moment to come back. Give yourself one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release the left hand if it was lifted. Release the left knee. Gently unwind. And let's go into the other side. So find your firm foundation first. Pressing away with the hands. Hollowing out the belly, so drawing the belly button in. And then keeping that foundation strong. Inhale, left hand reaches. Exhale, thread the needle. Maybe lifting the floor up to you. Maybe using your block here. Maybe extending that right leg long. Maybe even challenging your balance by lifting the right hand as well. Breathing wherever you are. And then slowly releasing that right hand if it was lifted, releasing the right knee, making your way back up. And let's sink the hips into child's pose or find puppy posture. Just a little release in the back. Letting the head and the heart melt towards your mat as much as you can. Take one more breath. And then press into the feet. Slowly walk yourself back up. And from our table, we're going to work on a little core work and a little balance challenge as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So again, press all 10 knuckles down. Find that space between the shoulder blades by pressing up with the upper back. And then we'll extend our right leg long. So right leg is lifted. Imagine lifting from the inner thigh and trying to keep those hips relatively straight. Right foot is flexed, toes are active. Inhale here. Exhale, draw the knee towards the nose, round the back. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze it in. One more time. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. We're going to extend that leg one more time and release the right toes to the mat. So maybe stay here. Maybe just reach the left fingertips forward, drawing the belly button in. If you'd like to twist, go ahead and make sure that right hand is stable. Inhale, left fingertips reach. Give it one more breath. And slowly release. Release the right knee. Take the knees together, big toes together, and just drop the hips to the right, look over the left shoulder. And come back to center. Drop the hips left, look over the right shoulder. And come back to center. Go ahead and separate the knees hip distance apart. Find that strong foundation, press into the knuckles, draw the shoulders down and away, and on your inhale, extend the left leg long. Take a few breaths to set up here. Lifting through that inner thigh, seeing if you can keep the hips as level as possible. And inhale here. Exhale, squeeze the knee to the nose, round the back. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. One more time. Inhale, extend. And exhale, squeeze. We'll extend the leg again. Release the toes to the mat. Press that heel back. Make sure your foundation is strong here. And either reach the right fingertips out in front of you or inhale, reach them up. One more breath wherever you are. And slowly release. Release that left knee. Knees together, toes together. One more time. Drop the hips left, look over the right shoulder. Come back to center. Drop the hips right, look over the left. And come back to center. Let's curl the toes under. Send the hips up and back. Find your downward dog. And maybe take a slightly shorter stance in your down dog today. So what I mean by that is have the feet maybe a little closer to the hands so that you can really send the hips back and you can feel that you're not dumping all of your weight forward into your hands. So trying to pull some of that weight back into your feet. Maybe take your dog for a little walk here. Maybe shake your head a little yes and no. And then look up at your hands. Either take a slow walk or just step up to meet the hands. And just hang over here in your ragdoll. We were in table a lot, so if your wrists are feeling a little bit stiff, bend the knees enough so you can press the tops of the hands into the mat. A little reverse wrist therapy here. And then maybe hold on to opposite shoulders, find a little sway, and let the head and neck be nice and heavy. Knees are bending generously. And then release the hands. Draw the belly button towards the spine as you inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. 2 more times. Inhale, halfway lift. Really feel like you're lifting from the belly button. Exhale, let it go. 1 more. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, soften and fold. Bend the knees even more. Start a slow roll up, pressing into all sides of the feet. Chin is the last thing to lift. And when you arrive, go ahead and shake it out if you need to. Maybe grab a sip of water. All right. I'm actually going to do that myself. Excuse me just for a sec. All right. So we're going to come into our mountain. And we're actually going to take the right foot over the left. So we're not going to do any crazy twisting here like we sometimes do with the strap. So just taking the right foot and crossing it over the left. Your feet don't have to be particularly close together. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see how far apart my feet are. So I have space between them. If it's more comfortable for you to bring the feet closer, you certainly can. So right foot crossed over the left. And we're going to go ahead and reach the left hand up and keep the right hand pointing down. And then press into both feet, and we're going to take a little side bend over to the right. So it doesn't have to be a big one. You're reaching down with that right hand, reaching up with the left hand. One more breath. And then slowly release. Let's switch. So maybe shake the feet out a little bit before you cross the opposite. So left foot in front of the right. Find your balance. We're working on balance here as well as stretching. And then we're going to reach the right hand up. Left hand is reaching down. And we're going to find our side bend to the left. And you're kind of actively reaching that left hand down. Breathing wherever you are. And then nice and slow with control, come out of it. Go ahead and shake the legs out. And let's grab our blocks. So you might want two, you might want one for this pyramid. It's up to you. Grab at least one. And we're going to set our block up at the top of our mat. And then we're going to step back into our warrior one. So stepping that right foot back, as big a step as you're comfortable with. And then right hand is on the right hip. Draw that right hip forward so your hips are squared with the mat as much as possible. Right toes are pointing out at about a 45-degree angle. Left toes are pointing straight ahead. And then find as much or as little of a bend in that left knee as you'd like. If you want a bigger bend, you may need to walk that left foot a little further forward. And then press back into that right heel. So you're pressing the right heel down towards the mat, really activating that whole back leg. Maybe staying right here with the hands on the hips, finding a lift in the chest. Or hands can come together at the heart, or they can lift up. Warrior one. If you're lifting the arms up, make sure you have lots of space between the arms and the ears. Press that back heel down. Take one more breath. And then release the hands back to the hips. Straighten through that front leg. Inhale to lengthen your spine. And exhale, start to hinge forward at the hips. Sending your tailbone back. Bending the front knee if you need to. Hands can release to the thigh, to the shin, to your blocks on any height, or all the way down to the floor. Letting your head and neck go. And breathing into that leg and hip. Notice if you're dumping all the weight into that left side. See if you can even it out. Give it one more breath here. And then rebend that left knee. Take the hands to the top of that left thigh. Press through both feet to come all the way up. And then step that right foot forward. Shake out the legs if you need to. And we'll move into the other side. So taking a big step back with that left foot now. And then if you're feeling off balance here, I know it's all about balance, but we got to make sure we can come into the pose and hold it just for a little bit. So maybe take the feet wider apart, closer to the edges of the mat. And then draw that left hip forward. Find however big of a bend you'd like in that right knee. Press the left heel down. Imagine that you're lifting up through the center of your body. Hands can stay where they are on the hips, or come to the heart, or lift up. 3 breaths, warrior one. Still pressing and activating that back leg. Take one more breath, maybe find a lift in the chest and forehead. And then slowly release the hands back to the hips. Straighten through that right leg. Inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale, start to fold. Hugging the belly button in as you do this is going to help stabilize you. So you can release the hands wherever they naturally feel good, or you can release them to the blocks or to the floor. If you're feeling any pain or pinching behind that right knee, please go ahead and bend it a little bit more. softening the head and neck. And give it one more deep, deep breath. And then nice and slow, rebend that right knee. Bring the hands to the top of the thigh. Press through the feet to come all the way back up. Step that left foot forward. Go ahead and shake out the legs. You can move the block aside now. And we're going to work on some balancing poses here. So we're going to go into Warrior 3, which is not one we do very often, but it's a great one for building both strength and practice with balance. So we're going to go ahead and take the right foot back. And we're taking it just straight back. And it's not a huge step. And I still have my toes and the ball of my foot touching the mat. So I'm going to start to shift my weight forward a little bit into that left standing leg. So maybe I'm staying here. This might be enough of a balance challenge for you today. So if that's the case, just engaging the core and really focusing on shifting the weight a little bit forward. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you're going to roll through that back leg so just the tips of the toes are down. So my weight's even a little bit more forward now. And at this point, you want to find something to rest your gaze on the floor, something that doesn't move. Even if it's on the carpet or your hardwood floor, find one particular thing to look at. So hugging the core in, really strong and stable. If you're staying here, stay here. If you want to go a little bit further, maybe you're going to release the hands down and start to lift that back foot. So you might be lifting it only a little bit and then touching the toes back down and then lifting again and touching the toes. That's fine. You can also just lift and hold. And you can lift a little bit further, tipping the body forward. I like to keep the arms in airplane arms, so back, but you can also take the arms straight down or even out to the sides if that helps you balance. Trying to keep the hips facing forward as much as possible. Give it one more breath. And then nice and slow, take those back toes down and step forward. Shake that left leg out. That's a really good one for building strength, but it can feel really challenging. So take some hip circles if you need them. And we're going to switch sides. So standing on the right foot now. I like to just start by taking that step back. And I'm on the left toes and the ball of the foot. Both of my feet are facing forward as much as possible. And I'm starting to shift my weight a little bit forward as well. So it's almost like I'm pushing off through that back foot. And stay here if you'd like, engaging the core, finding that one point on the floor to rest your gaze. You can roll to the tips of the toes on that left foot, or you can start to lift. And you may notice here that each side is different. So now I'm standing on my dominant leg, my right leg, which means I'm a little bit stronger. I can go a little bit farther. You may notice it's the opposite for you. Just doing your best wherever you are. You can even put a hand on a wall if it's nearby. Hugging that core in, take one more breath. And then with control, slowly start to come back. Release that foot, shake out that standing leg. All right. We're going to do one more balancing pose and then we'll take it down. So we're going to move into tree. And it's a little awkward to hold onto a wall or a chair when you're coming into Warrior 3, which we just did. But tree is a great one for practicing near a wall or a chair. So you can always come and place your hand on the wall, or on a chair nearby. And you just want to make sure that whichever hand is on the wall that you're using the opposite leg. So I'm going to start with my right leg. So shifting your weight over to the left. And then go ahead and take the bottom of that right heel and take it against the inside of the left leg. So you want to think about opening that right knee out to the side. And right away, I like to think about zipping up from my toes all the way up to the top of my head. So everything is hugging into the center line. My core is engaged. I'm dropping my tailbone down. And I'm definitely not letting my left hip shoot out to the side. I'm pulling it in. The wall can really help you to get proper alignment here. So maybe stay here, or maybe lift the bottom of that right foot to the ankle. Or you can lift it right under the knee. So again, right knee is pressing open. I'm really engaging that left leg now. I'm dropping my tailbone down, engaging the glute. Right hand can come out to the side, or you can reach it up. So practicing again, finding one point to rest your gaze. And if you're feeling stable, I might suggest releasing the arm down before releasing the wall. You can just see how good your balance is, and then come back to holding. Maybe eventually bringing the hands together at the heart. But right now we're just working on form. We're not working on necessarily coming in and holding it. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release. Shake out that standing leg, that left leg. Good work, everyone. Okay. So we're going to shift over to the right foot. I'm going to do this one freestanding because I don't have a wall on this side to hold, but it's fine. If I had a chair or something, I could bring a chair over as well. You can always just flip around and listen to my instructions. So we're going to come up onto the ball of the left foot, take the bottom of that left heel against the right leg, drop the tailbone down as you hug the core in, and maybe stay here. Holding on to that wall if you need to. And even if you just really want to feel what the alignment feels like before letting go, it's much easier to feel what the alignment's like when you're not fighting with your balance or wobbling around. So finding one point on the floor to rest your gaze, maybe moving that left foot up to the ankle or right below the knee on the right side. Left knee is squeezing open, tailbone's dropping down, and I'm pressing the bottom of the foot and the leg against each other. Maybe your hands stay down. Maybe you lift up the hand that's not on the wall. Maybe you try your balance by releasing the wall, maybe taking the hands together at the heart. You can always come back to the wall. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release. Shake out that right leg. All right, great work, everyone. Balance is a practice. It's just if we practice it enough, it starts to become part of our routine, and it can really help us in lots of different aspects of our life. So let's inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, find your fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Bend the knees, plant the palms, step back to down dog for one breath. And then lower the knees. Find child's pose or puppy posture. Just for 3 breaths. If the shoulders are feeling tight, bend the elbows more, take them out to the edges of your mat. Deep, deep, full breaths as you let your heart melt towards the mat here. And then slowly walk yourself back. And let's come to a seat. So we're going to do one more thing for the core. We're going to come into boat pose. I know everyone's favorite. So this is a pose, to share a secret, this is a pose that is hard for me. Boat pose is a very big struggle for me. So I've been working on it for a long time. I've been practicing yoga for about 15 years now. And this one is still a struggle for me. I'm still trying to find my balance, still trying to activate my core. So that's not to discourage you at all. It's just to show you that it's a continuous journey. So let's hug in the core. Feet are about hip distance apart. I'm holding on behind my thighs or behind my knees. And then I'm pulling my belly button towards my spine, and I'm finding a lift in the chest. So maybe staying here. This can be very challenging for the core, even just holding right here. We're going to see how far I get today. So if you want to go a little further, you can tip back a little bit and maybe just lift the heels. So my toes are still down. I'm still trying to hug my chest towards my knees. If you want to go a little further, you can tip back a little bit more on the sit bones and maybe lift the feet. You can still keep the feet pointing down though. And if you want to go a little further, maybe lift the shins parallel to the floor. That's as far as I'm going to go today. So you're still hugging the chest up towards the knees, finding that lift, engaging the core. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release. Cross one ankle over the other. Give your knees a big hug, really round through the back. Tuck the chin towards your chest. And then slowly come up. We're going to do one more boat pose. So take your time, heading into whichever version feels good for you. Maybe you want to keep it a little simpler, keep the feet down this time, really work on engaging the core and squeezing the chest up towards the knees. Make sure you're not squeezing the shoulders up if you're doing that. Or maybe you want to tip back a little bit further, challenge yourself by lifting the shins. Wherever you are, trying to lift through the chest. One more breath. And slowly release. Cross the opposite ankle in front. Give your knees a big squeeze. And slowly release. All right, we're going to end as we began. We're going to start all the way down on our back. End all the way down on our back. All right. So making your way down. Maybe taking your knees to the chest or taking your feet as wide as your yoga mat. Doing some windshield wipers. And then taking your feet back to hip distance apart. Let's go ahead and cross the right ankle over the left thigh. And we're taking that right knee out to the right. So this might be enough of a hip opener for you today. Maybe just staying here, maybe gently using that right hand to press into the right inner thigh. The right foot is flexed and active. If you'd like to go a little further and thread the needle here on your back, then you're going to push off through the left foot and either take a strap behind that left knee or thigh or interlace the fingers, coming into our reclined pigeon. If the feet are lifted, both of them, go ahead and flex both feet. And you can rock a little side to side here if that feels good. Taking a deep, deep, full breath in. Using your exhale to soften the shoulders, Soften the face, soften the upper body as much as possible. And then breathing into that right hip. Seeing if you can soften just a little bit more with every exhale. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release the hands or the strap if you were using them. Release that left foot down to the mat. Uncross the right, take your feet as wide as your yoga mat and do some windshield wipers. And then let's drop the knees over to the left with the feet just as wide as they are. And then maybe just staying here, just taking a different kind of supine twist and opening in the right side body. Or you can take that left ankle and cross it over the back of the right thigh. Just kind of using that gentle leverage to help you bring that right knee a little bit closer to the mat. They don't have to touch, they don't have to get anywhere near it. Just breathing into that right side of the hip, of the low back. And then gently releasing the ankle if it was crossed. Bringing the knees back to center. And we're going to take that left ankle over the right thigh, left knee out to the side. Right away, flexing that left foot. Maybe you're staying here today. Maybe you're moving into your reclined pigeon, threading the needle here. Remembering you can always use a strap around the back of that right leg. Both feet are flexed if that right foot is lifted. Maybe finding a little gentle rocking motion side to side might feel good. A very tiny one. Taking a deep, deep belly breath. And sighing it out, softening the upper body. Moving your attention into that left hip. Noticing again here if each side was different. So sometimes one side is tighter than the other. Usually that's the case for most of us most of the time. It's the same with balance. One side is going to be easier to balance than the other. It's not always going to be the same side every day. So it's just a matter of discovering which side is feeling like it needs a little extra love, a little extra attention, and seeing if you can balance it out. Take one more deep, full breath here. And then slowly release the hands or the strap, release that right foot to the mat, uncross the left leg. Do those windshield wipers with the feet wide one more time. And the next time the knees are over to the right, let's leave them there. Maybe just staying here, enjoying this opening in the left side body, or you can cross that right ankle over the left thigh or the back of the left knee, using it as gentle leverage to open that hip even more. Deep, deep belly breaths here. And then slowly release the ankle if it was crossed. Release the knees back. You can take a couple more windshield wipers or find any other pose that might feel good. We're winding down our practice here. The last thing we have is to head into Shavasana. So maybe a reclined butterfly might feel good with the soles of the feet together, knees wide, or taking a happy baby, or a full body stretch. So finding any other pose that your body is asking for before you head into your Shavasana. Or just making your way there, making sure you're nice and comfortable, that you have props that you need, maybe a bolster or a blanket. And when you find your final resting pose, allowing the eyes to soften or close. Let's all take a deep, deep, full breath in through the nose. Open the mouth, sigh it out. Deep, deep, full breath in. Let it go. One more time. Deep, deep, full breath in. And sigh it out. Let everything go. And finding your comfortable Shavasana. Letting the breath gradually return to its natural rhythm. Feeling your back body and any points of contact with the mat. Just becoming a little bit softer, a little bit heavier. And taking a body scan here. Noticing if the body feels a little bit more open, a little bit more balanced. If you're feeling equally tired on both sides. And just like in the beginning, being that passive observer, trying not to attach any meaning, whatever you find. Just acknowledging whatever shows up here. And taking a moment of gratitude to yourself for continuing this process, for stepping on your mat, continuing your yoga journey, and working to cultivate balance. Balancing the body, but not just the body, balancing both sides of the brain, balancing the mind, the heart, and the body all at once. And letting go of anything that's no longer serving you here. And enjoying a few minutes of quiet and stillness in your Shavasana. And beginning to once again deepen your breath. Beginning to find any movement that feels good in the fingers and the toes, maybe wrists and ankles, maybe gently turning the head from side to side. Maybe taking a full body stretch if it's calling you, or bending the knees and hugging them in. Whenever you're ready, finding those bent knees, making your way onto one side, whichever side feels best, and then gently pressing yourself back up to a comfortable seat. Taking your time, allowing the eyes to soften or close when you arrive, sitting up nice and tall, and just noticing how you're feeling at the end of your practice. And drawing your hands together at the heart if it's comfortable, sealing in your practice, leaving behind on your mat anything that didn't serve you today, and taking anything that did with you into the rest of your day and week to come. I thank you so much for joining me, for helping to cultivate balance in each of us. Namaste.